All right, we're doing it.
So we got to fight, and I threw him out of the house.
He said he shot himself, and I was in complete disbelief.
Find something that'll make you smile and laugh every day.
Seeing the mother and father holding the baby.
Enter as strangers.
Welcome to the Enter as Strangers podcast. It's podcast number 24. Today we have in someone we don't know, so it's actually really Enter as Strangers.
Yeah, this is our first guest that neither one of us knew at all.
Right. And her name is Nina Kelly. Hi, Nina.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you're a mutual. We have a mutual friend, Jim, who's been on the podcast before, and he sent me a message the other day because we were crying out in one of our podcasts for guests, and he said, "Hey, I know somebody that might have a pretty interesting story." So, from what I understand, which we don't know much, but from what I understand, you were born in Russia.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And you now live here in the States. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Where you come from, how you got here, and we'll have some questions, I'm sure, along the way.
Okay. So I was born in Ryazan, Russia. I know that's not how you say it properly, but that's
right.
How it's spelled. I was 7 years old when I was adopted. I think I was in the orphanage for 2 years before my brother and I were adopted.
Were you guys both adopted to the same family?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nice.
We were very lucky. But my 2 older siblings were left behind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In the orphanage, they were very abusive, and they didn't have very good nutrition. We would have the same meals every day, which was mashed potatoes, cabbage soup, red beans, and that's it. And like muddy water and tea and coffee.
Wow.
I don't mean to back up. How old are you now so I can put my frame of reference time period to this?
I am 28. I just had a birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So what brought you to the orphanage? What happened there was 4 of you. Mm-hmm. So what happened that brought you guys to the orphanage?
My mom, she slept around. She did drugs, smoking. My brother and I have different dads, but I think all 4 siblings have different fathers. She couldn't take care of us, so I would take her paycheck and take it to my grandma's and get food that way. So yeah. So
are you
I'm like the second youngest.
Second youngest, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The police came into our house one night and busted down the door. I remember hiding behind the curtains, and they grabbed my brother and I and just like ran out of the house, and I can't remember after that.
What happened to your 2 older siblings at the time? Were they taken too?
I think so. They went to a different orphanage for older kids with bad eyes, is what my mom said.
With bad eyes?
Mm-hmm. Was that the last time you seen them?
Yes. I think their orphanage was next to ours.
Mm.
So I would sneak out and go see them once in a while.
Oh.
And I know they would bring me like pears and fruits and stuff. But
wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
So how old were you when you left Russia?
7 years old. Well,
So
I just turned 7, I
You
think.
just turned 7. So how much of life over there do you remember?
I remember a lot of things that I did. I don't remember people or their faces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the language. I know really random words like water and like watermelon and grandma and stuff like that.
Really?
But yeah.
So are your brother's younger than you then? The one that was adopted with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm a little taken aback already.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't imagine.
Already a good story. So you remember what it was like being in that orphanage, and it was not pleasant, it doesn't sound like.
They were very abusive.
Really?
Yeah. I have some scars on my butt and stuff when they whip you.
Really? So they would physically discipline and stuff like that?
I mean, for essentially no reason?
I wasn't the best child. I would wake up at night when they mopped the floor, and I would like to slip and slide on it, and they would catch me, and they would get really mad at me.
Was it a big orphanage? Was there a lot of kids in there?
I think so. I remember quite a few of them, but a lot of them would get adopted out, and I don't know, I just never see them again.
Like, did you ever make close friendships with any of the other kids in there, or was it too much of a revolving door to ever really create that kind of a bond with people?
I didn't really create that bond because of the parent issue. My mom would be in and out, and we didn't have a father figure really, so I didn't have that connection with people except for my brother. So it was really hard for me to make friends.
But when you were in there, I mean, you and your brother were together. So how much of, kind of looking back, how much of having a sibling there with you made it bearable?
He saved my life. Not like from anything dangerous, but like if I didn't have him, I would be a completely different person. I'd probably not be as nice, or he made me grow up. I had to become a mother to him. I had to watch over him and protect him because my mom didn't do that for us. So yeah, he made me who I am.
That's awesome. Did you ever see your mom again after after they took you into the orphanage?
Yeah.
So you never saw her again?
No.
So do you know anything about her? Do you have family back there that you've reached out to since you've grown up or anything like that?
Yes, a couple of years ago. Well, before that, I was very depressed. And I was wondering, always wondering why my mother got rid of us and stuff like that. And at night I would stay up crying, and I was really mad for a long time. And I forgot where I was going with this.
That's okay.
That's all right.
We do it all the time. So I was asking about reaching out to family.
Oh, yes. And then for the longest time I was praying, please help me find my family. And my best friend Julie in Arizona, we spent like hours on the computer looking for anybody that knew anything about my family. We typed in my first name, last name, sister's, brother's name, and we found my sister, Irina. Her story matched up exactly to mine. So we reached out to the camp that she was at, and we got her information and stuff like that, and we found her on Facebook. And she has a little girl and a boy, and we found my brother through her. So that was kind of cool.
Are they still in Russia? Mm-hmm. Wow. Did they ever get adopted?
No.
No. So they just grew out of the system then? Mm-hmm. Wow. That sucks.
Yeah. They've had a hard life.
Do you remember the family that adopted you? I'm assuming were American. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that day? Do you remember meeting them?
Yes. It was probably the best day ever because they came to the orphanage with boxes and boxes of presents. When you come to the orphanage, when they take you away from your family, they take all your things and give it to everybody. It's not yours anymore. So when this family came and gave us presents, it was so exciting to open something that was yours. And they treated us so nicely and like cared about us, and we'd never experienced anything like that, so it was all new.
And were they the first family that took an interest or anything like that? They were the first ones. So how long were you in the orphanage for?
2 years.
So you were 2 years.
So you were 5 when you went there, 7 when you got adopted. Was it? And I don't know. I imagine at 7, probably not. But was it hard to? I mean, what were your thoughts when you were getting adopted by this family? Were you nervous about leaving with these people? Just unsure?
At that age, I didn't really comprehend what was going on. except for that these people came and gave us gifts.
Right.
So when they came and told us that they were going to take us back to where they live, I didn't really know what that meant. So when they told me that they were going to do that, I was like, oh, is my brother and sister going to come? And they didn't know I had siblings because the orphanage lied to our parents that we have now. So when they went to court to finalize the adoption, they're like, why aren't you getting the other ones? And they're like, what other ones? You know?
The court asked them, why aren't you getting the other ones? Okay.
Yeah, because they had no idea.
Right.
And so, yeah.
About the 2 older ones, or even your younger brother
The
as well?
2 older ones.
Okay.
They took the younger one.
Okay.
And another little boy from a different orphanage.
Oh, wow.
So they adopted 3 children at the same time.
And that was crazy back then. Like, you don't really hear people adopting 3 Russian kids.
Right. Were they from Utah?
They were born in Utah, but they had moved to Arizona because of my dad's work.
Okay. Were they LDS? Mm-hmm. What part of Arizona?
Tempe.
Okay. So you're 7 years old. You know you're going with these people, but you don't necessarily realize you're going to another country. Mm-hmm. So do you recall that trip? Do you remember?
I do.
Going on the plane and
Because it was so terrifying. My mom and dad brought us clothes, and we wore like toddler outfits at that age, 7 years old. We wore toddler shoes and toddler clothes because we were so malnourished. They took us on this plane, and I was so scared because I didn't know what this thing was, and I was like hiding my face in my dad's like neck because I was so terrified. But I remember getting off the plane. My entire neighborhood from Arizona was there.
wow.
And it was just so scary, and everything just happened all at once. I didn't know what to think or what was going to happen, but it happened.
Right.
So, and it was all for the better.
Right. So sounds like your parents made a big deal about you guys. I mean, they obviously had the neighborhood supporting them and things like that.
Yeah.
Were there any? You mentioned that your health wasn't the best. Or did you have any issues with that?
I have a lot of health issues. I was born with 2 reproductive systems, 2 uteruses, 2 kidneys, or 1 kidney, 2 cervixes, and at I think the age of 14 or 13, I was going to girls' camp, and my stomach hurt so bad. I was like, Mom, I can't walk. And she's like, oh, you're just constipated. You're fine. Get on the bus.
Right.
So I got on the bus. The entire time I was thrown up to Flagstaff. And they had to carry me off. And they gave me a blessing and took me to the hospital. And they found out that my ovary contorted and died. So I only have 1 ovary now. But they found out that's when I had 2 uteruses and 2 cervixes. So I had to get a special female doctor, and he's amazing. His name's Dr. Craig, and like he does wonders. And he's the one that helped me through my endometriosis, because when they took out my 2nd uterus, I had the hysterectomy. They accidentally popped it instead of draining it, so endometriosis went everywhere, and I had terrible pain for the longest time. And so they put me on birth control continuous to get rid of that, but it would just keep coming back, so they had to get it all out again. Like I had 2 surgeries scraping that out. It was awful.
All when you were a teenager.
Yeah. So
Ouch.
Were these birth defects due to the drug use?
I think so.
But nobody knows for sure necessarily.
Yeah.
So, wow. So not only did you have the challenge of, being split from your family and then being adopted and coming to the U.S., but also some pretty serious health issues, it sounds like.
If I wasn't adopted, I would have been dead.
Right. That's got to be a mind blower,
It
right?
is.
For you to kind of grasp that.
And the crazy thing is, my dad and mom had a son named Michael, and he died of a brain tumor. his name was Michael John Hunter, and so he died of a brain tumor. And my little brother, his name is Ivan Miklevich, and his last name. And then my other brother that was adopted with us was Oleg, but he had something John related in his name. So both of my brothers have Michael and John, and we all look like the family that adopted us.
Really?
Really? Wow.
It's crazy.
You probably won't remember this, but do your parents recall, did you have an accent? I mean,
Yes.
obviously you were speaking Russian as a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, so you came to the States and did they speak Russian?
No, they had a guy, I think they had somebody come and he spoke. His name was Vitaly. He came and spoke to us. But other than that.
So you literally couldn't communicate with your new
But it
parents.
took us not very long to learn it. My other brother, Oleg, he learned it the fastest.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
The brother you came with, your biological brother, how much younger is he than you?
He was born in 1993, so 3 years younger.
okay.
So he was a little guy.
Did he have any health issues?
Not that we know of,
Okay.
but we haven't done x-rays and stuff.
Right, sure, but he's been
Yeah.
good to go so far.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think he was sick when he was really young. He doesn't have enamel on his teeth,
Oh, okay.
so that's the only thing that we
Right.
know of.
Right, which would probably have something to do with being malnourished, so. Wow, this is actually a really cool story already. Do you have any memories of when you came to Arizona, right? First of all, you're probably it's hot as hell here.
It is. I still hate the heat. It's awful.
Yeah.
I love the snow.
Yeah, do
And
you really?
It's always going to be like that. But I remember we came, I think it was in October, and I saw all these people dressed in costumes. And I remember thinking to myself, is that how people really dress here?
Really?
This is scary.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember any kind of how quickly you went into school? Did you get into school pretty quickly? Mm-hmm. Your parents put you in school pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Was there any kind of adjustment period for you? It had to be so much better than what you were going through
Yeah.
in the orphanage.
Well, we didn't have school. I was
Right.
about to be put into school if I had a family that cared. But yeah, I don't think they really.
So do you recall any adjustment period or
No.
anything like that? It was pretty smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm. I do remember my dad sitting in with me in classes trying to help me.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Your parents sound like pretty amazing
Yeah,
people.
they sound pretty.
Already.
My dad was amazing, so.
Yeah.
And my mom.
They just wanted, was this just kind of who they were? They always knew they wanted to adopt some children from another
Well,
country?
My dad always said that my mom kind of went crazy when she lost her son. And this kind of filled the void
Right,
and helped her think about something different.
right.
Because we were a handful. Oh my gosh.
I'm always curious how that process works, especially adopting overseas. Are they just looking at profiles of you guys in family history, and they go, okay, yes, forgive my ignorance, but
No, you're fine.
I'm just always curious, because you got an orphanage full of probably quite a few kids, how they come to the decision of, who they want to take home with them.
I think my dad's work had something with this company that went to Russia to adopt kids. So he got onto that train and said, okay, we would be interested. So they sent him a video of all the children and they just chose, I think.
Oh. Wow. Interesting.
That is nuts. Well, you said the orphanage lied to your parents. I would about your older siblings. I imagine they probably fibbed about a few things. I would imagine.
Sometimes they wouldn't even feed us. I would have to find things to eat. I would steal lipstick from the people that work there and eat it.
To eat the lipstick.
Yeah.
So let's jump back there real quick, because you said you'd sneak out and go visit your older siblings. So how would that work? Was that an easy task, or were a lot of kids sneaking out and doing stuff, or because you're?
Well, we had recess kind of. We had tons of play equipment, so I would just slip away. I'm really quiet and sneaky and always have been, so it wasn't too hard.
Wow.
Were they treated any better at the orphanage they were at?
Probably not.
Probably worse.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Man, that's crazy. Okay, so you come to the States with your, and just so I'm clear, you come with your younger brother, and they already have they had a child that passed away.
And 2 daughters.
And 2 daughters. So by the time you get there, they have two daughters. And they are older than you? How much older?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. One is I think early 30s, and the other one is like 2 years older than me.
Okay. So not a huge difference.
No.
Did you guys get along pretty quick? Or was there ever issue with like...
Well, my older sister, she pretty much went to college when we got there, so I really didn't get to see her. And then my other the sister above me, age-wise, we didn't really get along because I was so immature. And I would pretend that I was a witch just to scare her and like run around the house, and I was really mean, but it was funny at the time.
How you said you're a little bit of a troublemaker at the orphanage. Did you continue to be a troublemaker?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Did you get into any disciplinary issues as you got into like middle school and stuff?
So when we came to the U.S., stealing was a big part of my life because that's how we survived in Russia.
Yeah.
We hid food under our beds. We would dig through the trash and get food because you never knew when you were going to eat.
Yeah.
And like when we would go to the store, my mom would say, "Empty your pockets." And we would have like all this stuff. And yeah, it was so embarrassing. We would have to go up to the register and be like, "We're sorry, we took all this stuff."
That's funny. But like you say, I mean, you came by it honestly. That's how you survived.
Yeah.
So this is kind of more anecdotal than anything, but did your older siblings ever throw your adopted card at you when they were mad at you?
I don't think so.
No? They were pretty nice about it?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
I had a very loving family. I was very lucky.
Well, that's amazing. So you're growing up in Arizona, right? You had some pretty major surgeries. So are you able to have children?
They did a surgery a while ago because my cervix and uterus just disconnected at some point. So they had to reconnect it. They don't know if I can have kids or not.
Is that something you want to do? Is have kids?
I wanted to adopt from Russia, but they closed the adoption to America.
Yeah. Yeah. They did that not too long ago, didn't they? Do you know why they did that?
Because Putin's stupid.
Hey, you're
Good enough answer for me.
here first. Yeah. How much of do you have any I don't know the word, like desire or interest in where you come from and your culture and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Like I always look on Amazon to see if I can find some like traditional Russian clothing or like anything from there. I want to go back and visit, but I would never live there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a trick of the mind, but the more I look at you while you talk, you do have very Eastern European, Eastern Bloc features and stuff like that. Your cheekbones and things like that. So
you should see my brother Ivan. He's blonde hair, blue eyes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Where is he now?
He's in Arizona. He's a barista and loves his job.
Really?
That's
Really?
cool.
He's
Is
really
he
good at
down
it.
in southern Arizona still, or?
Tempe.
Okay,
Somewhere
cool.
over
So,
there.
So are your parents here in Utah now?
No, they're.
So they're
my
in
dad
Arizona?
passed away a year ago,
Oh,
and then my mom's still in Tempe.
I was going to ask you because you referred to him in the past tense a few
Yeah.
times. Do you mind me asking how he passed away?
He had cancer because all the stress from his job and losing his son, it like triggered something in his body with all that stress, and he had cancer in the skin. He had like no kidney function. He had heart failure. Half of his head back there was gone. His ears, like, it was really
Wow.
bad.
Do you know how old he was when he passed?
I think he was like early 60s, late 50s.
Okay.
But he looked like he was 90 from all the
All the stress.
surgeries and stress
Surgery.
and medications.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you never, I forgot to tell you before we started, you never have to answer a question that you're not comfortable answering.
Okay.
But was it hard losing your dad?
It was so hard because when I was young, I wasn't very close to him because when we did something bad, he would smack us. And for the longest time, I hated that. And just a few years ago, we became super close. I'm gonna cry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And we became to love the exact same things. Like, I love to go to the shooting range. Oh my gosh. And I love fishing, and everything he did, I wanted to do. And it was so hard to lose my best friend.
So, obviously, tough to lose your dad.
Yeah.
We're gonna grab you some tissue here. So, but awesome, you became close with him then. So, but that didn't happen until you became an adult. It sounds like.
I had to mature a lot before I could, like, care about anybody else.
Do you think that it was deeper than just the fact that he might have been the disciplinarian when you were younger? Do you know if there was any? I mean, because you didn't know your dad, your birth father, I should say.
Yeah.
Right. So you probably never we learn most of our behaviors and habits at very young ages.
Yeah.
So you obviously didn't bond with any kind of male father figure when you were little, and it was probably easier to bond with your mom. Right. So were your mom and you pretty close?
Yeah.
When you were young?
Yeah.
And are you still really close with your mom?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
I love her. I would do anything for her. But when I was younger, being the mom to my brother, it was hard to have people tell me what to do.
Sure.
Because I was always the one that would say, do this or do that. You know, you can't do this. My brother still asks me, am I okay to do this? And I'm like, you're an adult. You can make your own decisions. So,
that's cool. That's
Yeah.
funny. So when you were kids and you came here, were you still pretty protective of him?
oh, yes. If anyone touched him, I would beat the crap out of him.
Really? I mean, what about your other, family members, other siblings? Were you even kind of guarded with him with your new family?
No, because I knew I would be safe.
That's pretty cool. It's
Unless
cool
we were in trouble and
right.
we get smacked.
Get smacked around a little bit. So you mentioned just a little bit ago that you love to go to the range and shoot. Is that something that you came to love through your dad? Or were you a shooter before you found that same passion with him?
It's because of my dad.
Because of him? And he said fishing too?
I love it.
Yeah. Was he a pretty outdoorsy kind of guy?
He was. And he would always go with his friends from work to, like, all these camping trips. And I was like, Dad, I want to go. But I wasn't old enough. And it was his time away to relax and stuff. So I would just be a little burden.
Yeah, sometimes dads need to go camping and get away from their children. So I asked you a little bit about, being Russian and coming from that culture and your interest in that. Have you ever been back?
No, but they are building an LDS temple there. And once they build that, I do want to go down and visit.
That'd be cool.
To see that.
That'd be really cool.
It's super expensive. Like, I think it's like 3,000 something to get a plane ticket there.
Yeah, a round trip
And
ticket.
to mail a package is like $80.
It's expensive.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have reconnected with your older siblings, or you found them. Do you guys stay in contact?
We do. We use the Facebook and, like, Google Translate.
So because they obviously speak Russian, and
I've had several drunk dialing from my brother, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying. So.
do they have because they stayed there? Do you have any extended family that you're aware of?
My sister said I have more siblings, but I don't know who they are. And she told me my mom and dad died in 2009.
So your mom, I was going to ask you, your mom, obviously 2009, you know, is about what? I'm horrible at math. 10 years ago, ish. So I maybe just assumed that maybe she had passed away much longer ago, but so she was around for quite a while.
I think so.
And never had any inclination to reach out. And do you know anything about her before she died? Do you know did she continue to have a drug problem until she passed?
I think so, but the documents that my mom gave us said that she didn't want to give us up, but she didn't have a choice. And my dad, he didn't care. He just said take them. So, but I mean, my mom couldn't take care of us, so.
So the man that was the father of the home when the police raided it, was that your biological father?
I don't know.
You're not sure.
All I remember is walking into my mom's room and seeing her in bed with a guy, and I was just like, okay. So I walked out, and I remember lots of fights where the man figure of the home would take me and like throw me against the wall. And one time I almost hit like the window next to me. I almost fell out of the window. And yeah, that's
as a little kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have lots of scars.
Wow. Earlier you had mentioned you would take your mom's check and take it to grandma. Mm-hmm. Was grandma much more involved when you guys were little over there?
Besides taking her the check and stuff, I don't think so. I know that we took like a railroad to her house, and we would see gum on the railroad, and we'd pick it up and chew it because it tasted so good.
Wow. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get it.
And we didn't have like birthdays or holidays or anything like that either, so.
So, I mean, till 7 years old, you had a pretty crappy childhood.
Yeah.
I'm interested because you're probably the first person, especially the first person that I've spoken to who's from another country and had a crappy childhood. Did you have any gauge that you had a crappy childhood, or was that just the way it was?
When I was 7, I thought that's how every household was until I came to the U.S.
And the streets were paved with gold. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you remember it being so much different? Like, this is so much better.
Yeah. It was amazing. No one, like, I don't know, everybody would say hi to you. They would smile at you. They would let you into their home. In our neighborhood, we would just go house to house to house, just playing with all the kids.
Right.
We would just walk in, not even knock. And the
Right.
family was, like, totally fine with that. And, like, back there, you would get, like, shot.
Right.
Yeah, what a culture shock for sure. I mean, you land and you got the whole community waiting for you. You know how overwhelming and instant change of environment that would be. That'd be intense as a little kid.
Now, you said a little bit ago that you had to mature a little bit to really establish that relationship with your dad. Do you feel like what you went through as a kid had psychological and developmental effects on you as you've become an adult and become kind of aware of who you are? And, you know, the older we get, we obviously learn that we have, you know, bad personality traits and things we do that we're not big fans of. So, I mean, do you feel like a lot of anything that you've maybe, I guess a better way to ask this is, have you dealt with personal struggles that stem from, do you have trouble trusting people, anything like that?
I would say I'm too trusting, and people walk all over me. And I'm too nice sometimes because I've had a life where nobody is really nice to you in Russia. I love to help people because nobody helped me back there. I had to do everything. And I have become a caregiver. I work for hospice companies where I take care of the people that are dying. I make sure they're safe and feel comfortable and stuff like that.
Do you feel like that profession kind of chose you? Is that for you? Is that directly related to what you went through as a kid?
Yes. Without the hard things that happened to me in Russia, I would not be the person I am today. I probably wouldn't be a nice person who cries. When I see somebody cry on the TV, I wouldn't match that emotion. I I am very caring, I guess. Not to be like, ooh, I'm amazing, but
But I'm amazing. So deal with it.
yeah. But I love to take care of people because I've done it for so long, and it makes me feel good about myself because I know I'm doing them, like, I don't know,
You're helping.
yeah, I
So-
feel like I'm contributing to the world in a positive way.
In service of other people.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think that's a pretty big deal, right? So you are a hospice caregiver. Would that be a proper way to
Yes.
say what you do? That's a huge deal.
Before that, I actually worked on cars.
Oh, hospice caregiver.
From mechanics to
/
people.
mechanic.
I was a painter, but yes.
So you painted. You were an auto body painter.
Yes.
Wow.
So
How'd you fall into that?
Yeah. Did you go to school for that? Like, did you?
I went to a school in Arizona where you go to high school for part of the time and then to a trade
To
school.
a trade school.
And my mom took me to this open house at that trade school. And she's like, oh, you could be like a masseuse. You could do interior design, all these girly things. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this, where there's boys and cars and I can work with my hands. And she's like, are you sure? Like, I'm like, yeah.
So that's how you became a painter.
I got tons of scholarships through ICAR and some other organizations, and they gave me a choice to go to Utah, California, or Texas. And I had family here. So,
You came here.
Is that ultimately what brought you to Utah?
yep.
Wow. So how long have you been in Utah?
Since 2010, I think.
Okay, it's about 8 years. How do you like it?
I love it.
You do?
I do. I love all the weather.
Snow enough for you? Yeah.
Yes, I love the snow.
Do you? Do you just know a lot? I mean, everyone has these ideas of Russia, right? Cold, snowy, dreary, vodka everywhere, right? But did it snow a lot where you grew up?
Yes, because I remember specifically where they would take us out and let us play in the snow. And we were just like wearing regular clothes, like
T-shirts
everyday
and
clothes.
stuff.
Yeah, because we didn't have anything else. And we would build tunnels because the snow would be above our heads. We would just build tunnels everywhere. It was
Wow.
amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of fun.
So you come to Utah and you're painting cars, right?
My sister was like, you know what you'd be really good at? Like healthcare. I'm like, that sounds really boring. I don't think I would like that. But then I gave it a shot and I really loved it.
And that's what you do now. Do you work for a specific hospice facility?
Yes. They are based in American Fork or Spanish Fork, one of the forks.
Right.
Yeah, and they're pretty new. They're called Elevation Home Health and Hospice, and they're amazing. They take care of their CNAs. They love their CNAs. And they get as many CNAs as they can.
So do you do in-home care then?
Yes.
Okay.
I do sometimes facilities too. Just depends where that person is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is pretty badass.
Yeah, that's
Because
very cool.
our one of our grandmothers was in hospice for a while because she was, for lack of a better term, she was losing it, needed the care and stuff. And that's got to be a rough
Oh,
gig.
it is. I've been hit, punched, grabbed, bitten, pulled my hair. I've been
So
pretty
you're
abused.
just basically being assaulted, and that's just the women.
But they don't know that they're doing
Right.
that to you.
Yeah. Well, I think that speaks a lot to your character. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of like what we try to do on the podcast is everyone has a story, but it's like the stories within the stories that we really try to get after, to really find out about people. And for me, that's pretty.
What makes you you, you know?
It's pretty telling that is that something you think you're going to continue to do for a while?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna quit this job. I love it.
Yeah. And regardless, you're going to stay in that kind of health, that senior health care kind of
Yeah,
arena.
I love it.
Now, are you married?
I am 4 years.
4 years. All right. So you met him here.
Yes, his dad was my automotive teacher, and I saw him giving his dad a burrito one time. I was like, that's the guy. That is him. And after 2 weeks of dating, I was like, I'm going to marry you and you don't have a choice. And he's just like, okay.
Scared him into it,
Yeah.
did you?
Man.
So how long did you guys date before you did get married then?
I think a year.
Oh, okay. Phew.
Yeah.
I got a little nervous there.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, I'm pretty cool, so it's okay.
I'm just kidding. I just pictured you telling that in like a Russian accent, like the bad guy in a movie, the bad guy Russian. So you've been married 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you live up in Clearfield,
Correct.
right? Technically, that's Clearfield, right?
So hopefully someone that's listening doesn't come and find me and like, I don't know.
Not that many people listen to this podcast. You don't have to worry. So tell us a little bit about, what your plans are for the future. I mean, do you really have any plans? Are you a long-term planner, or you just kind of take things day to day? And
Well, we just recently met our neighbors, and they have become our closest friends and best friends. We love to do everything with them. So as for the future, we'll probably stick with them for a while. Probably forever. And then I eventually want to adopt a child. I don't care from where. I don't care what race or ethnicity, or same thing as
Right.
ethnicity, but I just want a child so bad. And
well, it makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense that
Yeah.
because you went through that experience that you'd want to do that for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference of it being from another country?
I do want another child from a different country, but I mean, if there's one here that needs it too, I mean,
Right.
So is that something you guys are actively doing now?
trying to have kids? Yes.
And adoption?
Oh, then not yet.
No.
Not yet. Trying to have kids, but not actively
We're
adopting.
having fun.
You should have just, if there was a camera in here, everybody just did the look on her face.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So, from what I understand, they are, and maybe you don't know, but from what I understand, it's becoming harder and harder for Americans to adopt children from other countries.
Yeah, it's so sad because they need them to be adopted here so they could have a better life.
Right, right. Do you know why they're doing that by chance? Why it's getting harder and harder? Or why Russia closed down their adoption?
Well, because they didn't. I don't know. I think they're
She
just
told us
bitter.
earlier because Putin's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
think they're just
blame
bitter.
Angelina Jolie and all those kids she's adopted
Yeah.
for why they're not letting anyone adopt any more kids. I have a extended family member who's adopted 4 children from other countries. From I think 4 different countries, in fact.
That's cool.
Yeah. Quite the process.
It is. It
Quite
takes
a lot of money.
forever, and it's super expensive.
Super expensive. And there's a lot of ups and downs emotionally, or at least what she went through, just because, you think you're getting somewhere. Because you're not always dealing, from what I understand, with the most reputable adoption agencies or people that are the intermediaries that are arranging these things and stuff like that. So good luck to you when you
I know.
when you do that.
I forgot to say, when I was in Russia, the malnourishment, my frontal lobe never developed. And so when they adopted us, they did like all these like brain testing, like draw pictures, what do you see, and kind of stuff. And they told my mom that I would never like graduate high school. And my entire life, I thought that I wasn't ever going to be smart. So I just like pushed myself, but I never got good grades. I would study like 5 times longer than everybody else and get like a 60. And then I was like, crap, like, am I ever going to pass high school or even get to go to college? And I didn't ever know that. So the time came and I passed high school. I was so excited. I was like, ha, I proved them wrong, suckers.
Yeah.
And then I got to college and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. I can do this. And my entire life, I still think I'm not smart enough compared to other people. And it sucks because you put so much pressure on yourself. And you don't realize that it's not one thing that makes somebody smart. People are smart in so many different ways, and everybody is so different. And if everybody was the same, everybody would be so boring. And I'm good at some things that my husband isn't, and he's great at some things that I'm not. We just fit perfectly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How old were you when you have a clear picture of, obviously your mom told you that you had, so basically you said that they told you your frontal lobe hadn't developed all the way.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like between the ages of 8 and 10.
Is when you found out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like from what you're saying that was a weight you carried or still carry.
Still.
So let me ask you this, because sometimes Eric and I, every other podcast we do is just him and I in here ranting and raving about stuff. And we go pretty deep sometimes, but I'm really interested from your perspective in the things that you've accomplished with that weight that you've carried around, with just that idea. Because that's, this is the typical, oh, this person will never walk again. And then they walk again, right? Mm-hmm. Doctor said this, doctor said that. So even though you still carry that weight around of not maybe,
being good enough, smart enough,
right?
Yeah.
You've had to have proven to yourself numerous times that it doesn't matter. You can actually overcome that. Mm-hmm. But you still kind of fall back to that default mode that you're not good enough or not smart enough. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
I find that interesting.
I do too.
Eric and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
The lessons that we learn over and over and over in life about things. But then once we get far enough away from learning that lesson in a particular time, we just go back to that kind of default programming of it. And it kind of makes you wonder what kind of burden you would have not had on your shoulders if you had never been told that about yourself.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just if you never knew any better, would it have ever been a thing,
Or maybe not, because you obviously have used it for fuel.
Yeah,
too.
it drives me to work harder.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, like, good for you, because that's one of two things. It's either motivation or a death sentence for most people, when they get that kind of limiting belief.
Wrong.
Do you?
Yeah. About myself.
Right.
Like,
right.
If they think, oh, you're not going to do this, heck yeah, I'm going to do that. Watch me.
Watch me.
That's why she wanted to paint cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy painting cars?
I loved it. And all the boys would mess with my stuff and like ruin it. I'm just like, look at your stuff. It's like worse than what I have right now.
Did you find that, since that's, I would imagine, a primarily, male dominated profession, was it tough?
It was, because getting safety equipment for women with my size,
right,
it was impossible to get small gloves, small paint suits, anything small. It would take months. So I'm in there huffing paint and getting all this chemicals on me, and
right,
it was awful.
Oh man.
Make you really hungry.
That's pretty cool. Well, you're quite the interesting individual.
Thank
so
you.
Tell us more about yourself. I mean, is there any other, I know that we're kind of jumping all around here in your story, cool. But is there any other, cool things that have happened to you, or things that you've accomplished that you could attribute to what you've been through or the family you've had or anything like that?
I am an artist. I love to draw. I make some pretty cool pictures.
Do you?
Yeah. I start with Sharpie and then do color pencil all by freehand, and there's some pretty cool stuff. But I do everything that's that has to do with part of my life, or if I'm listening to a song or something that relates to me.
So you is that a passion of yours?
Oh yeah,
is art,
I love it.
Drawing?
Anything creative, I'm really good at.
Did you always find yourself good at it, or was it something you went to school and actually tried to learn and develop, or were you just always naturally gifted at drawing?
I took an art class at Weber State, and the teacher said, bring in a project that you're working on. So I did, and he used it as an example of what not to do. So I was like, okay, this guy's a douche. So I hated that class after that. But I did learn a lot. We did charcoal stuff, and not a big fan of the messiness, but whatever. But yeah, and I love the outdoors and lacrosse. I love lacrosse.
How'd
you
you
really?
Yeah.
how'd you learn to, or how'd you become a lacrosse fan?
Did you play lacrosse
high
in high school?
Is that
It
what
was-
you did?
Yes. When we were younger, my mom had us play all the sports. And in high school, I was like, let's just try it, give it a shot. And I loved it because I could run, and when the people aren't liking, like the refs, I could like plow somebody down, and
Take
it
out
would be
some
okay
aggression.
because they couldn't prove it. And I always thought, that's kind of unfair for the men's lacrosse. They can hit each other, and it's fine. They don't get like yellow cards or red cards. And girls can't. They have to wear mini skirts and run down the field like just with goggles on. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? That's stupid.
Because in men's lacrosse, they wear some form
They
of
wear
shoulder
tons
pad,
of padding,
right?
yeah.
But not
I'm
in
like,
women's?
no, we just have goggles.
That's lame.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
lame.
So when the refs aren't looking, the only time that I like feel like good is like when I like plow down a 6 foot tall person. I'm like, yes.
And how, just so people listening know, how tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
So
5'2".
yeah, I mean, obviously you're smaller, so that's the visual of that is pretty funny.
Oh, it feels so good when you do something like that.
And you say you love the outdoors too.
Yes.
You go camping quite a bit, or
I love to go camping, but my husband hates it, so I don't really get to go.
wow, we got a real gender role reversal here.
Yes.
So he doesn't like to go. Does he like the outdoors, or is he like?
He is kind of a hermit. He likes to stay inside.
As a
and,
homebody.
Yes.
There are a bunch.
And it's turning me into one because we like to play video games.
Uh-oh.
We love it. And
Uh-oh.
now that we have somebody to play with, our neighbors, we don't really go outside.
What's the video game of choice?
Right now, it's called Warframe.
Okay.
But we like Ark too. It's really fun.
So how long ago did you and the neighbors meet?
This year sometime.
Oh, okay. And it was just you guys hit it off pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. I remember her coming from church, and I was on the street, and she was like, "Hey, you should get your husband to come talk to my husband." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then like a while passed. I was like, "No, you should give it a shot." And like they worked in the same building or something like that. So I was like, "Okay, they might have more in common than we know." So we gave it a shot, and I was like, "Dude, these people are awesome." So yeah.
What people don't know is that neighbor is sitting behind you
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Came with you
Yep.
to the podcast. So
Yeah.
well,
She's amazing.
that's pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like I kind of find it interesting that you were not a body paint. I don't know the proper term. Painter. I'm just gonna say painter. You're painter. That you kind of. Do you think you like your love for the outdoors and stuff? Did you get that from your dad? Did you guys go camping a lot as kids and stuff like that?
I think I have always loved it because in Russia, I remember when we would go to play outside, I would like climb trees and get like bird eggs and pretend like I'm making a meal or something, like cut
Really?
up the eggs and leaves and stuff. And then I would just like lay in the grass with my sister and like make flower headbands or
Right.
something like that.
It was your safe zone as a kid, your
Yeah.
Or
sanctuary.
escape.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself growing up in Arizona? Would you consider yourself a tomboy?
Oh yeah.
You
Oh my
were.
gosh.
Yeah.
I wore
You weren't a
boy
girly girl?
underwear. I wore boy shorts. We would go to church. I would have to put on the skirt. I hated it. And I would put my basketball shorts underneath. And once I was out, I would rip that skirt right off and just run down the street with my basketball shorts on and had a ball.
Do you still do that?
No. I've become more girly.
But you definitely weren't a girly girl growing up.
Oh no.
So did you find it hard to get along with other girls then?
Yes, I hated other girls because of all the drama. I still hate drama.
Yeah.
And they were just so mean.
Yeah.
And I had lots of guy friends. Why did I need girlfriends? So
Yeah. That's how I feel.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of guy friends. Why do I
Yeah.
need any girlfriends? I
Yeah.
feel the exact same way. So you mentioned going to girls' camp up in Flagstaff.
Mm-hmm.
So even at that age, did you have a hard time getting along with?
I had this one girl. Her name was Katie. She was my best friend, besides Julie. And she would do the exact same thing I would do with the skirts and the
Right.
basketball shorts. We would play video games and stuff. And she and I just like, we were super cool. And did all the boy things, and I don't know. And now that we're grown up, she is transitioning to be a man.
Okay.
She's going through that process, and I'm so proud of her because she has hid that for so long, and she had to work through like all those insecurities, and she didn't even tell her mom and dad that she felt that way. She didn't even tell me. I had to find out from Facebook. I was like, I would have never judged you. I don't care if you're a guy or a girl.
Right.
Like, I mean,
But you didn't know.
No.
But obviously she
Yeah.
came out or whatever because you found it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Did you hit her up and be like,
Yeah, I
what
was
the
like,
hell?
dude, yeah, why wouldn't you tell me? I don't care.
Yeah.
Did she live here?
She lived in Arizona, but now she lives in Connecticut.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
You guys still pretty close? Talk often?
I try to talk to her, or him, and I get a few comments here and there, but I'm like, dude, come back and snowboard with me or something.
Yeah. You bored?
I'm not very good at it, but
But you snowboard. Does your husband snowboard?
no.
We should have had your husband come up.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, totally.
'Cause
Yeah, he
It's getting
has
funnier by the minute.
he has 2 herniated discs in his back,
Ooh,
so
ah.
he can't do a lot of
Ouch,
activity.
yeah.
Been there.
But my uncle was teaching me how to ski, and this is like the first lesson I had. And he took me on the bunny hill once, and he's like, "Oh, you're a natural. You're amazing and all these things." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I'm like really good at it." And he's like, "All right, now we're gonna go on a bigger hill." Okay, so I get up, and this is at Snow Basin. We go on to the hardest run, and I'm like, "You have got to be kidding!" Like I step off the thing, and it's like a dead drop,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "I can't do this." He was a liar. So
Yeah.
the entire time I'm going backwards because it was easier on my muscles, like in the groin area,
Yeah.
than to go forwards. And I was like, I hate this. I hate my husband, or I hate my, what's,
Uncle?
yes,
Uncle.
uncle. And I hit an edge, and my knees went flying to my teeth. And,
Oh.
I bit my tongue, and I couldn't feel my teeth. I was like, oh my gosh, I lost all my teeth. And that's like my biggest fear. I don't know why, but so I'm like crying. I'm like, my teeth are gone. And I have this big fat lip, and like, oh man, it was awful.
How old were you?
I think this 20.
Your uncle sounds like my uncle. Because
Yeah.
really, that's just a trick. You're a natural because
Oh,
he
yes.
wants to get up and do a real run
Yeah.
and not hang out on the bunny hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a big sports person. He likes to like slalom ski, water, snow, biking. And he took me, I think this was like when I was 14. He took me mountain biking. And he's like, all right, we're going to go on the easiest trail. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. It was not easy. There was rocks everywhere. I fell, and like the handlebar went straight through my leg, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. So I have this cool moon-shaped handlebar thing
it
on my leg.
jabbed into you.
Yeah. And I was so pissed at him. I never went again with him.
Did you have to get stitches?
No, we just plopped
Just-
a Band-Aid on it.
Just got it. But
Oh, I just don't trust my uncle anymore.
You've been beat up pretty good over the years, huh?
yeah.
Jeez.
You're a warrior.
No doubt.
That's pretty funny.
Pretty cool scars.
But you made the transition from skiing to snowboarding. Mm-hmm. So how often do you get to go?
I used to go a lot when I was a freshman in college because my mom bought my pass. But now that I have to buy everything, I don't go.
It's
because
expensive as hell.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
It is really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have any plans of moving from Utah at any point or anything like that? Or you plan on staying here?
Before I met my neighbors, I was set on to move to Arizona because that's where my immediate family is.
Whoa, that's a lot of pressure.
That is a lot
back
of
there in the
pressure for
peanut
your
gallery.
neighbors.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
So-
Why were you thinking of moving?
Because I just wanted to be close to my mom, and like losing my dad, she was alone, and just to keep her busy,
Right.
I would be there to help her. So
Just bring her out to you.
I know.
Just talk her into moving here.
My my sister's, or one of my sister that has 5 kids, moved like a block away from her, and then my other sister, I think, is in like Gilbert or something. So they live close to her. So
Yeah,
she's
and
not gonna move.
And your brother's still there, so pretty much the whole family's still in.
Yeah, she's not
AZ.
moving.
And your brother will still do anything you tell him to.
Pretty
sounds
much,
like.
yeah.
So if you ever,
You can get him here easy then.
Not to move, but snowboarding, yes.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of noticing a theme with you. You're kind of a badass
Thank
when
you.
it comes to certain things here. So let me ask you. You're obviously active Mormon currently, right?
I didn't used to be, but I'm working towards getting sealed in the temple to my husband and my adopted family. Because the thought of dying and being alone is terrifying to me.
Right.
So I was like, Jake, we need to do this. So yeah.
So obviously, when you came here, you grew up LDS because your parents were LDS. Did you have any struggles with that as a teenager or anything like that? I mean, obviously, when you came from Russia, you weren't old enough. You probably, obviously, weren't
I didn't
religious.
really understand. I just thought, oh, church is really boring. I hate it. But I always loved the activities for young women.
Sure.
We did tons of stuff and like crafty things. So I'd love to go to those, but I didn't realize that what I was learning at that age could benefit me now.
Right.
So
Right. So when you came here to Utah, you had family here. Were you still pretty active then, or were you kind of
no,
at
not
that
really.
age of whatever?
Yeah. I wasn't really active until I met Jake.
Okay, and then he was active. Okay.
So he
Yeah.
helped me. He was a super good example, and I'm the bad influence.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. Sometimes people need bad influences in their
Yeah.
life, Otherwise things get a little too boring.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. I know that you said that you want to adopt. Are you waiting till a certain time frame, or you just wait until it feels right?
Just when it feels right. I'm telling my husband, hey, we need to sign up because
It takes a long time.
yeah, it's
I mean,
like a couple
it's a
years.
long process, yeah.
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 So
We had a guest in here, our second podcast, and she was a surrogate twice.
That's awesome.
And yeah, the first go round of being a surrogate, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long drawn out process, even though because there's a lot of people out there looking for children and whatnot. But yeah, is he 100% on board for adopting?
I think so. It's for me as a woman thinking that your body can't do what it's supposed to be doing. You feel like you're worthless, and to have somebody give you their child because at that time they can't take care of it is such a blessing, because you need that comfort of somebody telling you you're okay. I'm here to help you, and to know there's kids out there that need that help is amazing, and I would love to be a part of that. And if I was able to have kids, I would have kids for everybody, but I can't. So.
But now
You get a kid, and you
get
get a kid, and
Yeah.
you get a kid.
so I thought you said earlier you weren't sure if you could have.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't. You
true.
don't know.
So
I
you're
don't know.
You guys are still unsure.
We've done some like creams and stuff that my doctor said, and like pills, and
Right.
so the next stage is shots, and I'm
Right.
terrified of shots.
You
I
had to
cry.
do in vitro and
I
stuff.
would be the child that's running around the store to get a flu shot. Like my parents would have to like come and like grab me and
You
sit me
don't
down.
like needles.
No, I cry. I hyperventilate. Like it's so bad, and I still do that at this age. Like I'm freaking an adult.
That's all right. That's funny. So, so you guys are trying to have kids, and you're trying a few things because you
Yeah.
obviously want children. So, well, I wouldn't be surprised if I mean, you seem to be a pretty tough nut. So,
Yeah.
you've accomplished all these other things. So, wouldn't surprise me if you will your way to getting pregnant too.
Heck yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, have you double checked to make sure that The hubby's all
Yep,
right.
We did that. I'm good. He's good. So yeah, that procedure did not feel good. They had to like shove this tube to make sure my fallopian tubes were open.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, it's just gonna feel some pressure. That's a lie.
Ouch.
It hurts like a mofo.
Really?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. I was just blown away at the whole story from start to finish.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
You kind of jumped right into it. I'm sure, like, I stopped. I was writing down some questions, but I got so drawn into your story that I just kind of stopped because I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And you're only 28.
Yeah, young.
Right?
Yeah, young.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, you came here. You're 28. Oh man, this is gonna really.
So I came here in 1997.
97.
Right?
That's not that long ago.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I was still in high school. Or right out of high school. I was out of high school. When you came to the U.S., it was 97.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Makes you feel old.
It makes me feel old for sure. Yeah, absolutely. 97. So, do you have any other questions for her?
No, I don't. No. I don't have any questions.
I'm kind of all over the place because I'm sure we could pry and pick more stories from you out of like being in the orphanage or what it was like, making that transition. But I think you've covered it pretty good. Eric, you look like you had something to say.
I'm finding it hard to find the words to articulate it. You know me, I get drawn into these stories big time, and I end up going quiet because I am so just enthralled with the stories. And I mean, at the end of the day, good for you.
Thank you.
Amazing. It is amazing. Wow.
So what we like to do you have any other cool story you want to tell us
I'm trying to think.
before we wrap it up?
I'm so
Well, you're
nervous.
only 28.
Yeah.
You're only 28. You shouldn't be nervous anymore.
I know, but I can't really think of anything. I'm sure I will have.
You'll drive
flooding-
away.
Yeah.
You'll be like,
Crap,
oh,
I should have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have that happen all the time. The mics turn off and someone will be like, oh, well, this one time. And we're like, dude, that was the best
know,
story you
yeah.
told.
Well, guess what? You're back. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah,
So
come back anytime. So what we like to do sometimes, especially with guests that we don't know at all or don't know very well, is kind of, your story's pretty inspirational, right? So, you grew up pretty rough life to the age of 7.
Mm-hmm.
You had a mom who was an addict, not really a father figure. You had to steal to survive. You had to take care and become a mom to your little brother pretty early on. You were abused in different levels at the orphanage. And then these angels came down and kind of rescued you and your brother.
Yeah.
So, actually, I just thought of a question. As a 28-year-old who's looking to have children of her own, how much do you kind of now, and especially now that your father's gone, it's got to be this thing where it's something you get used to over time, I guess, but there's got to be this level of gratitude that you feel to your parents
Oh yeah.
for what they did, because
I could never repay them for what they have given me.
and I don't know the lives that your older siblings that you lost contact with in Russia have now, but maybe they have great lives. I don't know. Do you know? Do they?
I know my sister went to school for cooking, but other than that,
You don't know a ton.
I think my sister has a stable relationship with a husband and her kids, but my brother, he's like a alcoholic, not a very stable life.
Right. And that could have easily been you and your brother, if not for your parents
Yeah.
that came in. So I kind of interrupted there. So tell me just a little bit about the gratitude that you feel towards them.
They have done so much for me, and they still do. Even though my dad's passed away, the lessons that he has taught me, I still benefit from them. And a couple days ago, my husband bought a car, and I started crying on my way home because my dad loved cars. And I was like, I wish my dad was here, because he would know exactly which car to get that was safe, that was the best price. And I just felt like I was missing him and I needed him. But I knew that everything was going to be okay because he taught me that I could rely on the things he taught. And so yeah, we got a new car, super ugly. It's called a Chevy Bolt. And my husband loves it. It's all electric vehicle. And yeah, I think it's so ugly, but he loves it.
They are atrocious.
Yes.
They're terrible.
But he has a really good sound system put into it, so yeah.
How old is your husband?
He was born in 93, so I'm older than him. So I
Younger
think he's
man.
like 25.
Wow.
Oh,
26. I'm terrible at math. I hate math. I turn into like this Hulk when I have to do math. It's so bad.
who's the? You don't have to answer this question. Who's the boss in the household?
Both of us.
Both of you. Good.
Yeah.
Good answer.
We're pretty chill people. Like, I don't care what he does. He's an adult. He can do whatever he wants. Like, he can buy whatever he wants. He's better with numbers than I am. So I'm like, if you want to get whatever, fine. Yeah, like, you can do whatever. Like, I feel like I can trust him enough to know that we're not going to have financial problems because he's so good at math. Like, I don't know.
He's good with numbers.
Oh, yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He's a computer programmer, and he like was amazing in his math classes, and he tried to help me, and he's like, I'm never gonna help you again because you're so scary. So I was like, okay, that's fair.
So you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but you alluded to it. So was it love at first sight with him?
Oh yeah, totally.
For you?
And like, you know, when you're younger, people are like, oh, when you see your husband, you're just gonna know. I'm like, that's the stupidest answer I've ever heard.
Right.
Like, I hated people when they say that. And then I saw him, I was like, oh man, that is him.
That's him. Did he feel the same way?
I don't know. I know that he really liked me.
Yeah.
Like, he was looking through his dad's roster, and he's like, ooh, Dad, who's that girl? And he's like, oh, this is just a student in my class. And he found me in a picture on Facebook through a friend, and he messaged me. He's like, how do I know you? I'm like, oh, your dad's my teacher. So he calls me, and he's like, hey, do you want to hang out with this person, our mutual friend, and go do some stuff? And I was like, yeah, that sounds so fun. Then he hangs up and then calls back. He's like, I lied. I don't want to hang out with that person. I just want to hang out with you. I was like, okay, I'm good with that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, one thing we like to do, like I was getting to before at the end of the podcast with our guests, is to kind of, you know, is there any, I always figure out that I can't ever word this the right way.
I know.
This is being recorded. It's you know, going to be put online. It's going to be out there essentially forever. You know, so in one format or another. So, is there any message you want to get out there? Is there any kind of inspirational words you want to give to, whether it's people thinking to adopt or it's, you know, children who have been adopted? You know, give us a final thought.
I have tons.
Sweet, lay them on us.
Let me adjust. Okay. So my biggest thing is to always serve people, even when you don't like that person, because I became so close to my dad is because I was told by a teacher at my church, when you serve somebody, even though you don't like them, you're gonna love them by the end of the serving. And I grew to love my dad, and I understand so much because of that lesson. And I just think that it's so important to serve other people because it just comes back around. I mean, it's going to help you, and it's amazing. You just see the reactions on people's faces when you do something nice for them. Even if they don't, like, smile or say thank you or whatever, you know you're doing something good. And I don't know. There's also that golden rule. My neighbor's little girl taught me that always treat somebody like you want to be treated, and to always, like, I don't know, treat somebody better. Like, you want a better world. So be that start. So yeah. And right now I can't think of anything else.
That's okay. Those are two pretty good.
Yeah.
Those are two pretty good things to leave us with.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Eric feels the same way. I personally want to say thank you for coming up here and sitting in a room with two guys you don't know at all and telling us your story. We have a lot of people that are listening that will listen, and I know will really enjoy this story.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And I appreciate you opening up to us.
Yep.
Eric,
I wouldn't be here without Jim, so.
Well, thanks to
Jim.
Thanks to Jim
Thanks, Jim.
for finding us a wonderful podcast guest. And then, with any luck, we keep this podcast rolling. It'd be cool to have you back someday.
Heck yeah.
For sure.
Totally down for that.
Be great.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Nina.
Yeah, thank you.